Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to another concert in the series Music at Midday, presented by St Paul's Cathedral, London, Ontario. And today the concert coming from my home here in Stratford on my digital make-in organ. And today a programme of organ music and also vocal music. In 2 days' time, on Thursday this week, it will be the Feast of the Ascension. J.S. Bach wrote chorale preludes for all seasons of the year, and he wrote one in particular for Ascension Tide based on a Lutheran chorale. The words of that chorale, translated into the English, God's only begotten Son has risen triumphantly, Alleluia, Alleluia. And I'll begin, before I play the chorale prelude, by playing the opening two phrases of the chorale melody, so that you can see what the chorale prelude itself is actually based on. So I begin today's programme with the Ascension Tide chorale prelude by J.S. Bach. The music of Franz Schubert continues to be very, very popular. Of course, his symphonies and his masses and his songs are very, very well known. We were set here in Stratford to do a choral concert of the music of Schubert this month. Many people from my choir have asked me about any organ music by Schubert or any vocal music that Catherine could sing would be very much appreciated. So we've chosen today to perform perhaps one of Schubert's most famous songs, Du bist die Ruhe, literally a love song, and the words translated or paraphrased, you are the love of my life, I dedicate my life to you. So the next piece on the programme, the vocal solo, Du bist die Ruhe by Franz Schubert.
Du bist die Ruhe, du Frieden.
The music of Robert Schumann is certainly very popular as well. We think perhaps of his wonderful piano concerto in A minor, and obviously a composer that's a favourite among many of our listeners. So the next piece on the programme I've elected to play for you is the Sketch in C minor by Robert Schumann. At the end of his life, he was confined to home because of ill health, and he loved to play the organ. So he couldn't get out to go down to the church to practice, so a friend fitted a pedal board to his piano so that he could still practice his organ repertoire. And Robert Schumann became so enamoured with this instrument that he decided to write some pieces for it, and this is one of those pieces, Sketch in C minor. And you'll hear the lovely flute stops of the organ, the very high-pitched flute, what we call a 2-foot stop, very piquant in sound. So the next piece on the programme, the Sketch in C minor by Robert Schumann. The next piece on the programme is a set of 3 by the French organist-composer Louis Vienne, who was born in 1870 and spent most of his life in Paris. He studied with Widor, and for the last 37 years of his life he was organist at the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. Best known perhaps today for his 6 organ symphonies, he also wrote a number of beautiful miniatures, some for the organ and also for the voice. So we're going to hear 2 solos that Catherine is going to sing from a work called Les Angelus. Vienne returned from a recital tour in the United States in 1929, and he met up with a poet, and he was very attracted to his work and decided to set one of the poems to music. The first one, which is called O Mater, tells of the listener hearing the Angelus bell in the morning as the trials of night are over and the joys of the day are about to begin. And the second solo is called Au Soir, and again the listener responding to the sounds of the Angelus, and as he hears the Angelus, he gives thanks for the day that has just passed and for the night that is coming. The Angelus bell is reflected in the music by a repeated note played in the pedal that you'll hear at the outset. We don't have chimes, unfortunately, on this organ, or bells, but you do hear that motive in the music. The middle piece of the 3 is an organ solo called Carillon. French organist composers did love their bells, and they wrote many pieces based on bells, and this particular carillon is based on the bells from the chapel of Longpont, just outside Paris, and Vienne dedicated this piece to his brother René, who was killed in the First World War. So you hear the carillon theme right at the beginning, played in the feet, and then throughout the piece the theme is repeated over and over again in the hands until it finishes at the end with all stops out on what we call full organ. So we begin in the set of three pieces with the O Matin by Louis Vierne. We stay with France for the next piece on the programme, and this time a piece by a pupil of Louis Vienne, Marcel Dupré. Marcel Dupré was born in 1886, died in 1971. He was a wonderful organist, gave over 2,000 recitals in North America, Australia and Europe. And he wrote some phenomenal organ music as well, some of it of great technical difficulty. He also taught as well many famous household names in the organ world, Olivier Messiaen, Jean Guillou, Marie-Claire Alain, to name a few. And when he finished doing all of his recital work, he's almost sort of semi-retired to Paris and succeeded Widor as organist of Saint-Sulpice in 1934 and spent a few years as head of the Conservatory of Music as well. But nonetheless, a very well-known organ composer. I've chosen today to play a piece that's on the quieter side of Dupré's organ works, a chorale prelude that's been written for the celebration of Evensong. It's a chorale prelude based on the text, "At the ending of the day, dear Creator, protect us and guard us." Has a beautiful melody in the right hand, which is played on the flute and the mutation stop, the 12th, and accompanied in the left hand by the strings and flutes. But many say this is perhaps one of the most beautiful pieces that Dupré wrote. So the chorale prelude, Te lucis ante terminum. We stay with France for the final piece in today's concert, a song from the deep south, from the region of the Auvergne. Joseph Canteloube, the composer born in 1879, he died in 1957. He eventually moved from that region of France, right down in the south, up to Paris with his family, where he studied at the Conservatory. He wrote in many forms, orchestral music, operas, but it's perhaps for his songs that he's best known. And with his family being rooted firmly in the traditions of the Auvergne, he decided to write a set of songs. And Catherine is going to sing one of the best known songs from this set, the Obal, which tells the story, a young woman speaking of all the finer points of the wonderful village in which she lives in the Auvergne. The language is rather interesting. It isn't pure French, it's what we call Occitan, a combination of perhaps French, Italian and Spanish. But we finish today with this song, the Obal by Joseph Canteloube from Songs of the Auvergne.